is also extremely hard on Mirabel, and all Mirabel wants is her approval. But this is not an Abuela hate video. Since Abuela was trying to fix Isabella up, I wonder if she ever tried to fix Bruno up with someone. They need to have that perfect exterior and be perfect at all time. Hey you, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Jenny and I'm a licensed therapist. Today we're breaking down Encanto. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Like you don't belong? Well, today I'm answering that, the roles we play in our families, and more. So if you're interested, please keep on watching. So let's start with a synopsis of the movie. The Madrigals are an extraordinary family who live hidden in the mountains of Colombia, in a charmed place called the Encanto. The magic of the Encanto has blessed every child in the family with a special and unique gift. Well, every child except Mirabel.
She was about to tell us about her super awesome gift!
Oh, Mirabel didn't get one.
However, she may soon be the Madrigal's last hope when she discovers an issue with the magic. When she discovers that the magic surrounding the Encanto is now in danger. As the movie starts, I noticed a theme of Abuela being very and extremely thankful for the gifts the family has received. And she definitely ensures that the gift is shared with the population. I personally love that. I think this is great, and I think it's really important to be in community with others and your neighbors. However, the weight of those expectations seem to be crushing the people in the family, even if that expectation is to stay out of the way. Okay, so let's talk about the roles in the family and who plays them. Starting with the one Abuela blamed for Bruno's disappearance, Mirabel. Mirabel Madrigal is the youngest sister of Isabella and Luisa. She has the distinction of being the only Madrigal by birth without a magical gift. So basically, she is the source of the family's problem. She's not given a gift, so Abuela increases the family's efforts to basically show that she's thankful for having this great responsibility of being the family that gets the gift. Since Mirabel doesn't get one, they increase what they're doing in the community. Luisa doesn't seem to have a problem with this. It seems that her and Isabella do not get along, misunderstanding each other's point of view. And we'll talk more about Isabella later. But Mirabel wants to make the family proud. She wants to make up for what she lacks, which honestly, it's not even her fault that she didn't get a gift, but she wants to make up for it so badly. She does, however, have supportive parents who remind her that, hey, you don't have to prove anything.
My mom!
But the thing is, she lives in an environment where she's constantly reminded of what she lacks. When I broke down the movie Coco, I talked about how he didn't really have anybody to stand up for him. But I was glad to see that in this movie that Mirabel does have her parents who stand up to Abuela for her. Well, if you're interested in watching my reaction and my breakdown of Coco, I'll link that below for you. She constantly has to deal with being the only one without a gift. The neighbors are talking about it. The children in the town are asking her what her gift is. They're saying, oh, I brought something special for you because you're the one without a gift.
Delivery! I gave you the special since you're the only Madrigal kid with no gift. You have no gift!
She's constantly faced with this, and I can imagine how tough that must be for her. But she puts on a brave face, even when it's hard. Mirabel gets blamed for a lot. For the house breaking down, she gets blamed by Isabella for ruining her engagement, when all she was trying to do was save the house. The thing is, Abuela doesn't treat her well. Abuela even tells her the best thing you can do, the best way you can help, is to stay out of the way. Which I think is not fair for an adult to tell a child. She's trying to help. Maybe there's another way you can speak with her? She's being treated like she's nothing because she doesn't have this special gift. But I was wondering throughout the movie, does Abuela have a special gift, or is the candle, or is managing the candle her special gift? And why can't Mirabel manage the candle with Abuela? So when I looked at her, I saw the family scapegoat, always being blamed for everything. So, if you're wondering, what is a scapegoat? They're basically the ones who get blamed for the family drama. According to Very Well Mind, scapegoating refers to blaming a person or group for something bad that has happened or that someone else has done. In Mirabel's case, it's Bruno leaving and also her not having a gift. It can happen to protect the image of the family or those favored in the family, not just the self. It is common for one person to be scapegoated. However, it can happen with more than one person in the family. I am sure to mention this because there is someone else who's also the family scapegoat, and we'll talk more about that later. So basically, the family singles out this one person to blame for their issues rather than to look internally to see exactly what's going on with the family. And in Encanto's case, why is the house breaking down? You know, I was wondering when I'm watching the movie, how can a child be blamed for an adult's disappearance? Being blamed for Bruno, being blamed for Isabella's proposal being ruined, and also being shut down when she was trying to help with Antonio's gift giving ceremony. It's just all bad. Like, I can't imagine how sad it must be to live that life. Even though her parents stood up for her, it's almost like, okay, but she's still in that environment. Mirabel already feels invisible in her family. Making her feel like everything is her fault is horrible. I couldn't talk about Mirabel without talking about her little cutie sidekick, Antonio. He was the cutest in the movie. Oh my goodness, his little face and his little hair. I just wanted to squish his little face. He was very cute. So while Antonio was this cutie patootie, I found him to be under a lot of pressure. Being the child after Mirabel, like I mentioned before, Mirabel doesn't have a gift. So Antonio is next in line to receive the gifts. So he's under this immense pressure to make sure he receives a gift, something he and Mirabel have no control over. But the great thing I found is that him and Mirabel had a great close relationship, and she made sure she was supportive of him, even if it was at times to her detriment, you know, encouraging him, making sure he knows you're going to get a gift, even though she didn't really get one. I felt that him reaching out to Mirabel was a great use of positive coping mechanisms. In the end, when he gets the gift, Abuela says, I knew you could do it. And while I know she was trying to be supportive to Antonio, she put Mirabel down because does that mean Mirabel couldn't do it? She couldn't get a gift? And how is she in control of those gifts? She's not in control of getting a gift. So I think it's really important to be mindful as adults in children's lives that when we are giving those compliments that we try not to slight others, even though that can be hard, and understanding that humans make mistakes, to maybe reach out to the child who didn't get the gifts and reassure them that's not your fault, which her parents have done. But Abuela is the matriarch, the one everybody looks to, the one everybody wants the approval of. And you could see Mirabel's face when Abuela says this to Antonio. She's not exactly happy, but what is she going to do? Cause a scene and ruin his gift ceremony? They go on to take a family picture and they don't even include Mirabel. They just forgot she was there. You didn't get a gift. You don't deserve to be in the family photo. That's how she saw it. And you could see her face. She was sad. I always wondered, did Antonio have any feelings about Mirabel not getting a gift or not having a gift? He was just a baby. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? So let's move on to Luisa. Luisa is the middle child. She is the younger sister of Isabella and the older sister of Mirabel. She's described as a strapping bodybuilder and the rock of the family. While she was very strong, she had a strong fear of letting the family down. Well, she also had a strong fear of letting other people down, not just her family. She was always trying to be there for other people, even when it was detrimental to herself. There's even a song in the movie where she sings that she is worthless when she wasn't serving others because she didn't see any value in herself. This can stem from the family matriarch putting so much pressure on what they can do for others, how they can help. You can also see this when her power is weakening. She's very sad and anxious about this, and she continues to work even when she knows that she can't. When Mirabel tries to talk to her about the magic fading, she's not able to concentrate on that. She's sad that she's not able to perform and be that tough person she usually is. This is extremely sad to see, but it's not uncommon in our day to day. A lot of people see their worth in what they can do and not just them being them. Yes, it's important to help others and to be in community with other people, but our worth isn't just from what we can do, because what if one day we can't? What about the people that can't do? They're still worth it. And it's something that is important for us to remember. A lot of times at work, people will become very stressed. People that are overachievers, they'll be like, oh, I can't produce, I'm sick. People refuse to take a day off even when they're sick because they want to produce. They want to show that they can do. But sometimes it's important for us to sit and rest. Take a moment, recharge. In my opinion, she plays the role of the hero in the family. According to Psychology Today, the hero is a high-performing member of the family. They use their achievements and success to basically hold the family together. The hero is motivated by external reward, usually praise from parents or others like abuela and the townspeople. While the role of the hero may sound great, it can be hard, always chasing the next thing, the next praise. Research even says that one struggle they face is the tendency towards perfectionism as a means of feeling in control. If the hero can just be the best and achieve all of the goals, then they will finally be happy, in control, and most importantly, feel loved. But because people tend to expect the hero to be perfect, their achievements can oftentimes go unacknowledged, leading them to want to do more and be more and have more output to get that recognition. That goalpost for them, the expectations for them is always moving and moving up. This is especially true for Luisa, because people see her moving those heavy things, lifting those heavy weights as something that is expected of her and nothing to praise. So those people that are seen as the hero in the family tend to be a little bit more anxious. So now let's move on to the Queen of Flowers, Miss Isabella. Isabella is the eldest daughter. She's also seen as the golden child of the Madrigals because she's beautiful. She has beautiful output, the flowers, and she's just overall perfect. And Mirabel sees her as exactly that, the perfect one who doesn't have to work hard. While she's seen as this person, she hates having to perform. She hates having to be perfect, but she does it to please her abuela. While the flowers are beautiful, she wants to produce other things. When she made that green plant, and forgive me, I can't remember the name, she was so happy to have made that. She was so excited. It was like, whoa, I can do something different. It doesn't always have to be those perfect flowers every time. So when she did that, it was as though she had freed herself from being perfect. Watching the movie, her life does seem perfect. She's beautiful and her life seems easy. But if you really look, she was willing to make sacrifices for the greater good of the family, like marrying the person Abuela wanted her to, even though she didn't want to marry him. There's even a small moment in the movie where Abuela asks Dolores, who has the power of hearing anything, to hear what the proposed spouse was thinking. And when Dolores tells Isabella that the proposed spouse would like 5 children, Isabella becomes flustered, and you could see the flowers grow all over her head. All of the flowers were purple, and you could see that one flower be white. And immediately, Abuela fixes her posture and plucks out that white flower because it wasn't perfect. She even fixes her chin too. It's really those small moments that show the expectations the family has placed on her. Abuela herself even says, "Such a fine young man for our perfect Isabella." Something I was wondering when she was trying to set Isabella up for this marriage, why hadn't she set up her other children for marriage? Anyway, Abuela was most proud of her perfect granddaughter who left beautiful flowers everywhere she went. This could also be where some of the tension that Isabela and Mirabel have stemmed from. Even though Isabella was the favorite, she still experienced pressure for being the perfect granddaughter and just the perfect one for Abuela. Like I mentioned before, well, from Isabella's point of view, it seemed that Abuela had all those expectations that she's perfect, but for Mirabel, there were no expectations. Isabella and Mirabel even have this moment where they're playing together, laughing, dancing together with paint, just being fun and creative. And Abuela looks up at them in a disappointing way. Like she doesn't agree with this. She doesn't want this to be happening. They need to have that perfect exterior and be perfect at all time. This is where that expectation of perfection is coming up again. In this family, Isabella is truly the golden child. According to ThriveWorks, the golden child refers to a child that is regarded as exceptional in the family. This child is expected to be extraordinary at everything, not making mistakes, and essentially be perfect. This perfectly describes Isabella. She is the oldest child, and she's also the eldest daughter. And the eldest daughter is often parentified and expected to grow up pretty fast. They tend to have more responsibilities and expectations placed on them. These people also tend to struggle with asking for help, and they often suppress their emotions. While the golden child often follows the rules, has impressive hobbies, and they tend to want to be perfect, this is Isabella making the perfect flowers even though they don't even want to. They tend to have those qualities, but they don't want to have them. They don't want to be perfect. And to me, that perfectly describes Isabella. Okay, so now let's talk about the one we don't talk about. We don't talk about Bruno. So let's talk about Bruno. He is the only son and the youngest child of Abuela. He's also the only one who doesn't have any children, and he was gifted with the ability to see the future. Since Abuela was trying to fix Isabella up, I wonder if she ever tried to fix Bruno up with someone. So Bruno ends up disappearing after years of feeling unappreciated and basically feeling like he's in the way. He can tell the future, but the thing is, sometimes the future is not always positive. So he basically is blamed for telling people their fortune, like telling the priest he was going to go bald. I think that is something most, if not a lot of men experience, is baldness. So how could he be blamed for that? He was also blamed for predicting that the goldfish was going to die. I mean, the circle of life, people do die. So I didn't understand. Logically, to me, it didn't make sense that he was being blamed for all these things. So when the future is bad, people tend to blame him, and they did blame him for their misfortune. Because of this, Bruno is estranged from the family for having visions that were also not perfect. And his triplet sister, Pippa, blames him for the weather on her wedding day.
It was my wedding day with the mischievous grin. We don't talk about Bruno, no.
He only predicted that it was going to rain. He didn't go in the sky, form the clouds, and pour the water in the clouds to make it rain. He only predicted it. So it didn't make much sense of why she really didn't like him. Like, if you don't want a bad reading, don't ask someone to predict the future. Well, unless he was maybe predicting without them asking, I don't know. Final straw for Bruno was when he saw that the magic was in trouble and he saw Mirabel in front of the house. So he didn't want to hurt the family again, so he felt like the best thing for him to do was to leave. And I do believe that Abuela did ask him to look into the future as to why Mirabel didn't get a gift. So he basically exiled himself into the basement where he worked on patching the cracks that were forming in the house. Because he was often being blamed for things that were out of his control, like Mirabel, I found him to also be a family scapegoat. And earlier I explained what a scapegoat was when I talked about Mirabel. Lastly, let's talk about the person who is blamed for all of these things happening and being the cause of all these problems, Abuela. Of course, these issues stem from Abuela. When I talk about that, I mean the expectations that she's placed on them. But this is not an Abuela hate video. I do appreciate that Abuela did experience a great trauma with being forced to leave her family home when she had just given birth, not to one, but 3 children, and being forced to flee with them, watching her husband give up his life to save them. That can be such great trauma to experience. And when you're given this beautiful gift of a candle that has all these magic and you can pass on these gifts to your children, your grandchildren, you're going to want to do everything to protect that. You don't want your grandchildren and your children to experience what you experience, having to flee your home, having to start over. So you do everything in your power to make it that you show that you're thankful for the gift, that you're sharing the gift with people in the community, so that way you can keep receiving those blessings. But because she was working from that place of not wanting that to happen, she was passing on that trauma to her family. She was putting that pressure on them. And this is where that transgenerational trauma comes in. And if you're wondering, what is that transgenerational trauma? Transgenerational trauma is the transition of psychological wounds from one generation to the next, resulting from a survivor's experiences with a traumatic event. Abuela having to flee her home and the things that happened afterwards, like I mentioned before. She survived this traumatic event, and it was her duty to protect the family. Her husband wasn't here anymore to help her with that. It fell all on her shoulders. And the thing is, she was doing the best she could. And she made some mistakes along the way. We all do. So yeah, she wanted to share that gift with the townspeople to show how grateful she was, even if it was to the detriment of her family. So who is Abuela? Her name is Alma, and she is the matriarch of the Madrigal family. She met, fell in love, and had 3 children with Pedro. Unfortunately, war struck, and she was forced to leave her home, along with her babies and her husband Pedro. However, like I mentioned before, he sacrifices himself for the family, leaving her to have to take care of 3 children on her own, freshly postpartum. I don't know if you all ever heard of postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, and how it can affect the mother and the children. So after everything happens, she's granted a candle, and she vows to show how grateful she is for this, for being given a magical candle. Abuela is seen as someone who doesn't really want anything to change. Everything's perfect the way they are. We have the magic and we're safe. That's her goal. She wants to protect the family. She wants to protect the magic. And she wants to be of service to the town people while expecting perfection from everyone in the family. She is also extremely hard on Mirabel. And all Mirabel wants is her approval. Even Mirabel's mother points this out. She lets her mother know that, like, hey, all my daughter wants is your approval. While Mirabel's mother does stand up for her, her daughter continues to live in a home where she doesn't feel seen. Since Mirabel doesn't get a gift, Abuela asks Bruno to see in the future. Abuelo asks Bruno to see exactly why Mirabel doesn't get a gift. And Bruno leaves after seeing this vision. Though Bruno doesn't share it with his mother, he leaves, and Abuela blames Mirabel for this. This is such an unhealthy dynamic in the family. A child doesn't receive a magical gift, gets blamed for it, and now this child only wants Abuela's approval. When I think of Abuela's role in the family, I think of her, of course, as the matriarch, but also as what some people have called to be the thinker. According to Embark BH, the thinker provides the objective reasoning focus. Their strength is being able to see situations in a logical and objective manner. However, this person may find it difficult to emotionally connect with other people. This is Abuela. The family, in her opinion, had one goal: receive their gifts and use it to help other people. It doesn't matter if it's hard on you or not. It doesn't matter if the weight of expectations are crushing you. In the end, I was really happy to see that Abuela eventually opens her eyes and that she really saw her children and her grandchildren. They were only doing their best to please her. While I do mention that Isabella is the golden child, they were all golden children in their own ways, trying to be perfect for Abuela. Mirabel wanting to fix the magic, Luisa wanting to fix the townspeople's problems, and Bruno leaving to alleviate everyone from having to deal with the negative side effects of his gift. Anyway, if you've made it this far into the video, thank you. As always, if you're interested, please do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe. I look forward to talking with you all in the comments. Bye now.